Okay, and welcome back to yet another classical Japanese Okami analysis, where this one is number 12. This is the 12th video. I think this is technically brushstroke technique number, I think it is number 12, which I was having some trouble last time figuring out because there's technically 13. You know, there's the 12 zodiac animals plus the cat, which is actually what we're going to be dealing with today is the cat, okay? But then I remembered that actually the monkey gods, there's 3 of them, so that's why the numbers don't quite add up to 13 like I was assuming. It's going to end up actually being like 15. But anyway, here we go. Kabegami. Continuing on, if you don't know what this is basically me analyzing classical Japanese as it appears in games and anime, maybe, hopefully anime in the future. But in Okami, when you get a brushstroke technique from one of the 13 brushstroke gods, they actually, if you're playing in Japanese, they relay this information to you in classical Japanese, and classical Japanese is the coolest Japanese in my opinion. So I'm breaking it down, explaining it, so for those of you who the handful of you, the like 3 of you out in the world who are actively trying to learn classical Japanese, maybe this can help you understand it a little bit better. You won't have to go through all of you won't have to go struggle as much as I did trying to figure this out. And also you can see why it's so cool, because they like to put in games and anime and stuff, the really old godlike beings are usually the ones who speak classical Japanese, so it's got this air of like mystery and majesty and power, and it's so great. Anyways, let's just get into the actual analysis, okay? And as always, we do have to watch the little cutscene because this one's rather funny. So this is Kabegami, he's the cat, which again isn't one of the 12 Chinese zodiac animals. There's an entire story. If you want to know more, you can always watch Fruits Basket. But yes, the cat unfortunately was left out of the zodiac. Poor Isun. My guy gets done so dirty. Even though he's just diligent and honest. Maybe a little brash and with excessive bravado, but... Okay, so, Kabegami. Let's go over his name. Kabe means wall. Gami comes from kami, which means God, okay? So, the beginning, o warera ga jibo amaterasu o mikami. You've seen this before. Ware means I, warera means us, warera ga means our. Jibo is a Chinese loanword that means compassionate mother. Ji is compassion, bo is mother. Amaterasu o mikami, Amaterasu is the name of Amaterasu, the sun goddess, which literally means ame, or ama, which literally is heaven. Terasu means to shine or to brighten up. And then, so Amaterasu means heaven shining. And then o mikami, o is great, and kami is God. With this honorific, this ancient Japanese mi, honorific mi in the middle of it. So, great goddess Amaterasu. And Okami is a cognate with the word Okami, wolf, in Japanese. So, that is why Amaterasu is a wolf. Okay, continuing. Okay. Jakki uzumaku jinkai o urei. Urei, yes, that one. Okay. So, Jakki is a Chinese loanword. This ja right here means like wicked, evil, bad, and then ki means like air, atmosphere, spirit. It's kind of this intangible idea, this force kind of a deal. It's ki is the thing that they use in Dragon Ball Z. You concentrate your ki, your life energy into your hands, and that's how you shoot a Kamehameha, right? But it shows up in other ideas. Ki is like life energy, but it's also air. You know, you breathe in, and that's where you generate life force, right? So. But it also is not like necessarily your breath in that it's human breath. It can be air. It's things that are intangible. Like fuinki, okay, is another word that means like the general tone of what's going on, the sense, the atmosphere of a room, right? So anyways, it's a very hard to pin down concept. Well, it's not a super hard to pin down concept, but it is a little bit more complicated than is just air or spirit or that thing. But think air, spirit. So you have like Jaki means evil, air, like evil air. So you can think of Jaki as like miasma, you know, this noxious, evil, general, vaguely bad atmosphere, right? So this evil miasma, this evil force that just kind of is everywhere, okay? So Jaki uzumaku. Uzumaku is a Jeez, I should have looked up what this kanji means exactly. So this kanji right here is like a swirl. It's like a round, it's like a spiral kind of a thing. And then maku means to wrap up. So uzumaku literally means to swirl around, to like whirlpool around. And in this case, like jaki. So you can imagine kind of like a tornado, this thing that just kind of like spins around, this evil miasma that just constantly is swimming around in circles, constantly, perpetually, never stopping, right? And wrapping around stuff, okay? So jaki uzumaku. Now, uzumaku is a verb, okay? Again, it means to spin around, to swirl around, to kind of cover and envelop, like engulf a thing, right? So jaki uzumaku. Now uzumaku, maku is technically the verb, which means to wrap around. This can either be the ending form or the attributive form. Okay, the ending form is just like the normal form of verbs. Usually, it's when you end a sentence, that's the form of the verb that you use. You say uzumaku, end of sentence. Okay, but this ending also doubles as the attributive form, which the attributive form, if you've seen previous videos, is the form that you use for verbs and adjectives. Yes, verbs and adjectives that you need to do in order to describe a following noun. Okay, so uzumaku, describing a noun. So the noun we're describing is jinkai. Okay, jinkai is a Chinese loan word. Jin means like defilement, garbage. Dust is another word. If it's not in a compound like this, usually if you see it by itself, this just means chiri, which means dust. But dust, dirt, filth, garbage, that kind of a thing. And then kai means, technically it means like a border. But in this instance, it means like the world or a realm or something like that, because a realm has borders, right? You have a realm that has borders, right? That's what kind of defines a realm. So jinkai literally means something like this dross world, this world of dross, this imperfect, impure, defiled, regular human existence, right? So jaki uzumaku jinkai. So the defiled world that is surrounded by evil, miasma, power, bad, evil, okay? And then we have the object particle o, which just denotes that this whole thing, right? This whole noun here, the jaki uzumaku jinkai, the dross world surrounded by miasma, is going to be receiving the action, and the action is uruei. Okay, comes from urueu, uruyu, whatever, and this means to like be sad about, to lament, to be despondent of, right? However, ureu, I think is how you would say it in classical Japanese. Ureu, right? Ureu is the ending form, okay? However, we put it in ure, we go from ureu to urei, and the reason why we put it in i is because this is the renyoke, aka what I like to call the soft connective form, which means that like we're continuing the sentence, but we're going to be continuing the sentence and connecting this to another part of the sentence, but we're going to make it kind of like a soft, a soft connection. It's not going to be like a hard, distinct connection. It's going to be a soft one, but it just means that we're continuing on, okay? So, jaki uzumaku jinkai o urei, okay? Desponding or being sad of or despairing of the dross world surrounded by miasma, ware just means I, right? And then in modern Japanese, a lot of times after this ware, we would want to put something like a ga or a wa or something, some kind of topic marker, subject marker, something like that. But it's classical Japanese, and so usually after ware, a lot of times after ware, they don't put an actual particle because that's just classical Japanese. So ware, tenku, okay? Tenku is another Chinese loan word. Ten means heaven, and ku means sky, right? Or just empty space. The sky is empty. Duh. So tenku just means like the heavens, okay? Is a fancy Chinese loanword way of saying the heavens. Tenku, and then there's that object particle, means it's going to be receiving the action, which is nozomu, okay? Nozomu is the verb that means, in classical Japanese, it means to like gaze upon, to look at, and to kind of like stare at with a little bit of like a longing aspect of it. But it just means to look at something, right? So tenku, ware, I, tenku o nozomu, okay? Look at the sky, look at the heavens. However, nozomu, just like maku, this ending form could either be this form could either be the ending form or the attributive form. In this case, it is the attributive form because we are describing the noun kono to, okay? So kono means this. And then to is a Chinese loan word, but it means like a tower, right? A big tower. And then we have the prepositional particle ni. Ni is just, it means, the best way to translate it in English is either in, at, on, by. It's kind of all of those things in one. The Japanese just make it easy. In, on, at, by, to is another thing that you could use. So ware tenku o nozomu kono tou ni. So the tower for viewing the heavens. So I, the tower in the tower for viewing heavens, in the tower viewing. Hold on. I, in the heaven viewing tower, in the heaven view tower, mi o yose. Okay, so mi is a regular Japanese word. It just means my person, myself. Okay. And then we have the object particle again, mi o, which means it's simply receiving the action of yose, which comes from yosu in modern Japanese yoseru, which just means to bring close to something. So you'll see this has happened in previous videos where when they say they go to a place, instead of saying go to this place, that sounds a little like boring, right? So they say I bring myself, I make myself close, I put my person close to this area. So I put my person close to this tower of heaven viewing, okay? Moving on. Okay. Haruka shita no, okay? Haruka is I guess technically it's a noun. It's like a noun adjective type of a thing, but haruka just means like distant, okay? And then haruka shita is a noun that just means below. So the far below, the distant below, the far below. No. Now, no in this instance, I don't exactly know how I would want to describe it in this instance. It's not possessive, right? And it's not really, I guess it's kind of possessive, but it's the classic no. It just means of, okay? Haruka shita no sekai o. So sekai is a modern Japanese word. It's the same. It means the world, okay? So the world of the distant below, okay? So you can reverse this when you have the no in Japanese. Is we have of in English and they have no in Japanese. But when you have a sentence that uses one of those in English, you have to flip it around, or I guess in Japanese you have to flip around whatever. In the corresponding language, it's opposite, okay? So like you can say something like The Legend of Zelda, okay? The Legend of Zelda. Zelda no densetsu, okay? Zelda no densetsu, the Legend of Zelda. You see how it's flipped around. Densetsu means legend. So haruka shita no means the distant below, and the no is of world. So the world of far below. The world of far below. And then we have this, this object particle a lot, this o, okay? So the world of the distant below, mioroshi haberinu, okay? So miru means to see. Mi comes from the root verb miru, which means to see. However, we have it in the soft connective form, and the reason why we have it in the soft connective form, and I don't even know if there is one of the hard connective forms in this. We'll see. But we put it in the soft connective form because the soft connective form allows you to like stick other words together and to put, well, as you will see, we're putting multiple verbs together to make like one big verb. Okay, so mi comes from miru, so we go from miru to mi, and then we stick orosu on the end of it. Mi orosu. Orosu means to lower, okay? So mi orosu literally means to look down on, okay? However, we go from mi orosu to mi oroshi, which is again the soft connective form, and the reason why we do that is because then it's followed up by haberinu, okay? Haberi. Now haberi is a verb that means to serve someone. For an inferior to do something for a superior, right? It's to serve. However, because of the nature of the verb, it eventually just turned into kind of like a catch-all politeness phrase, right? It's something that when an inferior is serving a superior, they always use haberi, or they use soro. But usually in like Genji times, in mid and early Heian period, it was haberi, okay? Mioroshi haberi, yuki haberi, right, is what they would say, something like that, which is just a very polite thing. However, what's interesting with the verb haberi is its ending form ends in the haberi. That is its ending form. However, it's also the soft connective form, because if you notice, the soft connective form almost always ends in like an e. So we have miru goes to mi, and then orosu goes to oroshi, and haberi stays haberi, okay? And then after that, we have this auxiliary verb, nu, which means to do something completely, or to do it completed, or like it's done and we're done and we're in this state. So, haruka shita no sekai o mioroshi haberinu means something to the effect of, I look down upon the world that is far below me, the world of far below, right? And I do that completely, like it's a regular thing that I do, that I've done a lot, many times. Okay, continuing. Too far. Sometimes it goes really fast. Okay. All right, so now we've got this word futatabi, okay? Now, futatabi is actually written with its own kanji. However, it is a combination of two other words. Futa means two, like futatsu, or futari, if you know, like, regular Japanese, right? Or in modern and classical Japanese, it was the same. Futatsu, futari, it means two. So futatsu just means two in general. Futari means two people. However, we have futa and then tabi. Tabi means, like, a time, okay, but not a time in the sense of like a span of time, like an instance of you do this. Like I do this once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. It's that kind of a time, right? So futa means two, and tabi means time, so 2 times, so twice. Futa tabi, or rather, once again. Okay, once again is another way that you can say this. So futa tabi, once again. Waga chikara. Waga comes from ware. Ware means I, like we said. However, when you want to make ware possessive, you drop the de and you put the ga on there. You have the same thing with like ware, waga, nare, naga, kare, kaga, tare, taga, right? This is a pattern that you can use, okay? But so ware goes to waga. So waga means my, and then chikara. Chikara just means power. So waga chikara means my power, okay? Waga chikara. And then, again, a lot of times it wouldn't be unusual for there to be a particle. Waga chikara ga toka, or waga chikara wa, something like that, right? Hitsuyo to araba. Okay, so hitsuyo is a Chinese loanword. And hitsu means, this first one right here means certainly, okay? Certainly. Kanarazu is another word. If you saw this by itself, it would be kanarazu. So kanarazu means like certainly, for certain, surely. And then yo means needed. So certain need, certainly needed. So hitsuyo is basically just a Chinese loanword that means need. However, because it's a Chinese loanword, you can use it as a verb, you can use it as a noun, you can use it as an adjective. That's one of the nice things about Chinese loanwords in Japanese is they're very flexible. So hitsuyo to araba. Now this to, right? This is kind of a tricky thing, okay? To can be a quotation particle, and I think the best way to translate it a lot of times is, in English, is as. So, as something. So, hito to shite, to do as a person, okay? Or in this instance, I think that's what it's doing is hitsuyo to araba. So, araba comes from the root verb ari, right? Which is just the verb that means to be, to exist, right? However, we go from ari, which is the ending form, and we put it in ara, which is the incomplete form, the not yet done form. And the reason why we do this is because we put this conditional ba on the end. And when you have it in the incomplete form, the not yet done form, and then you stick the ba on the end, that turns it into conditional, okay? Which means if something. So if exists, if is as a need, if it is as a need, if it's needed, okay? If my power exists as is a need. That's a really weird way of saying I'm sorry. I'm trying to translate it really literally so it makes sense, but more technically, the way I would translate this is once more, if it is that you need my power once more, if you need my power once more, kono Kabegami. So kono again means this, and then he follows up with his name Kabegami, okay? Which means wall god, god of the walls. So however, what I would translate if I was translating this into English, right? Instead of kono, instead of this, I would say I, Kabegami. So, if you need my power once again, I, Kabegami, right? Kono Kabegami, this Kabegami, okay? Moving on. Okay. Onmae ni yamakakeru kibou no hashi o kake tatematsuran, okay? So, onmae, okay? Onmae is a combination of, it's not actually technically a Chinese loan word. This right here, this is just an honorific thing, okay? This is something that you could put in front of a lot of words. You see it a lot in the Tale of Genji. I think it comes from, it originally, if I understand it correctly, it originally comes from that same root that if you remember when he greets Amaterasu, when everybody greets Amaterasu, it's O mi kami, right? So O means great. Mi is an honorific thing. And then over time, O-mi became Om, okay? Mai. And then Mai means in front of. So Mai literally just means the honorific before, because you can imagine, again, if you're like somebody of the lower classes and you're coming before one of the nobility for whatever reason you have. You come before them, and it is honorific. You're in their honorific front. Honorifically before them. They're honorific before, honorific in front of them. Which just means in their presence, you know. So, omae ni. So, before you, omae ni, and then this ni is, again, is in, at, by, to, etc. Omae, so in your presence, in your honorific presence, ama kakeru, okay? So, ama, again, just means heaven, like an amaterasu, right? Ama, and then kakeru, okay, comes from the root verb kaku. Kaku? Yeah, kaku. Or is it kakeru? I think it's kaku, okay? In classical Japanese. In modern Japanese, it is kakeru. So, but this kakeru means to speed towards something. It means to run fast at something. Like when you hop on a horse and you speed off, right? It's kakeru or kaku, right? So, ama kakeru means to heaven run through the heavens, speed through the heavens, the heaven run, okay? Which is just a fancy way of saying to fly, right? To soar through the sky. So, ama kakeru kibo no hashi. So, kibo is a Chinese loan word. In modern Japanese, it just means hope. Ki means like, shoot, I should have looked this up. I think ki is like a desire kind of a thing. Well, is it desire? Oh, shoot, I should have looked this up. I know kibo means hope, okay? Kibo just means hope. And then this bo is actually, we saw previously, is the nozomu, right? Nozomu means to gaze upon, originally meant to gaze upon. Nozomu in modern Japanese does mean something like to desire something, okay? But it's like very hopeful desire. It's not like it's typically not like a sketchy, like self-centered desire. It's a hopeful desire. It's I want to see this good thing come to pass, right? So kibo means hope. So kibo no hashi. So there's that no that means of. Hashi means bridge. So the hope of bridge, flip it around, it becomes the bridge of hope. So ama kakeru, oh, by the way, ama kakeru, okay, is in the attributive form, and it is attributing the kibo no hashi, the bridge of hope. So the heaven-spanning bridge of hope. So omae ni, heaven-spanning bridge of hope. O, again, that whole thing, heaven-spanning bridge of hope, is the whole noun that we're working with, and that is going to be receiving the action, as we know, by this objective particle o, this object particle o, okay? Kake tate matsuram. So here's another use of the verb kake, okay, or in this instance, kaku, okay? So kake, another way that you can say this, kake means to like put up, to stick up, right? So when you put something on the wall, like when you put up a signboard, you kakeru it, right? Kakeru it. In modern Japanese, you kakeru, right? Or if you hang something up, you kakeru, right? Or if you want somebody to come fight you, right? You say kakatte koi, which literally means, koi means come at me, it's a command, but kakatte means put up, right? Put it up, bro. Like stick it up. You know, stick your hands up, or rather take your will to fight and bring it up, stick it up, hang it up so I can see it, right? Like make it visible. So kake just means to raise up, to bring up, to hang up, etc. However, in this instance, we're talking about a bridge. So to put up a bridge, to set up a bridge, okay? Set up is probably the best thing. So kaku goes, so the root verb kaku means to put up, set up. However, we go to kake, which is technically this verb's, because of the nature of the verb, I won't get into this, but because of the nature of this verb, its soft connective form doesn't end in I, like we've seen in the previous ones. It ends in kake, right? Kake. And then we have the verb, the final verb, tatematsuram, okay? Comes from the root verb tatematsuru, which means to offer up, okay? Again, it's for an inferior to a superior, right? It means to offer up. Like when you go to a shrine and you offer up, well, you make offerings, you tatematsuru those things, okay? Tatematsuru. However, tatematsuru is the ending form, and we put it in the not yet done form, so we can add this The not yet ending form is tatematsura, and then we put this which comes from mu, which denotes either one of two things, okay? One of two things. It denotes either uncertainty, or it denotes will or intention. Like I purposefully do this, as opposed to it just kind of happening, or me just kind of doing it without thinking. It's like, this is my intention to do X, okay? So, omae ni ama kakeru kibo no hashi o kake tatematsuran. I put up the heaven-spanning bridge of hope before you, okay? And then I think that is where it's over. And then you get the kabegami. You get a kabe means wall, and you get the ability to now hop up certain areas of wall, right? So let's go back and review. Okay? Just so we can be clear.我々が自母アマテラス大神. Okay? Oh, which is just like an oh, well, I see. Our compassionate mother, great goddess, heaven shining. Okay. Jaki uzumaku jinkai o urei. So, despairing of the dross world that is surrounded by the miasma, I, ware, tenku o nozomu, kono to ni, I, to this tower looking at the heavens, to this tower looking at the heavens, observing the heavens, mio yose, I bring my person to this tower looking over the heavens. Haruka shita no sekai o mioroshi haberinu. The distant, so I look down upon the world of the distant below. I look down upon the world of the distant below. Distantly look down upon the world below, okay? Okay. Futatabi waga chikara hitsuyou to araba. If you need my power once again, I Kabegami, kono Kabegami, I Kabegami. Ommai ni amakakeru kibou no hashi o kake tate matsuran. Before you, when the I is actually implied here, I will put up the bridge of hope that spans the heavens before your presence in your honorific presence, okay? And then again, it's over. So that is the explanation here. I think this one's going to end up actually being a little bit shorter than previous ones because it's already just a pretty short little bit, and I tried to hurry through it because this is number 12 of these things. So if you guys have been watching these things, you're probably already familiar with a lot of these. If you haven't, please go check out the previous videos because there's a lot of information that I try to pack into a small amount of time, but I am trying to save some time on these new ones so I don't keep going over the same things over and over and over again, and hopefully you can get to the good bits and you can learn something from these. Anyway, so with all of that being said, I am going to be done here. So if you have been watching these and you did, I hope that you found these things like educational, somewhat entertaining, although they're not probably the most entertaining things out there. But again, this is what I think will help people who would like to learn classical Japanese, which again I think is the coolest form of Japanese, but hopefully this will help you if you are trying to study and you can learn it. And maybe even if you don't speak Japanese, but maybe when you're playing your games and stuff, like when the new Ghost of Yotei comes out, or they just announced Neo 3, which I'm kind of interested in. I'm actually playing Neo 2 at the recommendation of one of my commenters. Or when the new Okami comes out, right? Maybe if you play those in Japanese, you will notice some of these grammar patterns and you'll be like, oh, I see. This is classical Japanese. I know that now. And you can be really smart and tell all your friends about how educated and cultured and worldly you are. Anyway, if you have been watching all the way up to this end here, I do thank you, genuinely. This is probably the driest and the most unentertaining bit of stuff that I do. But if you do enjoy it, I'm very glad that you do. And if you did, please give the video a like. Please subscribe to the channel because there's still plenty more of these things where this comes from. We've got at least 2 more of these coming, right? 2 more of these Okami things coming. But there are also other games that I would like to get into and potentially anime in the future as well. So look forward to those things. And once again, thank you so much for your support. And hopefully we will see you next time for number 12. I think it's number 12. Or it might be number 13. But now we're going to be dealing with my favorite brushstroke rod and my favorite technique from Okami, which is the lightning and the tiger, Gekigami. Anyway, hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks so much, guys. Goodbye.